Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the very first Great British and Irish Cheddar Challenge. It's awesome. We're here. It's been an absolute roller coaster day today, and we are at Slow Food IT head office in Bra in Italy, the most amazing place. It's so full of cheese, the biggest celebration of cheese probably in the world. And I've got with me, please introduce yourself, Elisa De Michelis from Global Headquarters of Slow Food in the world. Amazing. Please tell us why. Get close to the camera. Why is cheese so important?
Thank you very much, James, and welcome everyone to Cheese, the largest international event dedicated to cheese and dairy. The theme of this year is the taste of the meadows, in order to really emphasize the role and the importance of raw milk cheeses made with pasture-raised animals, with the focus on their role in the biodiversity and agroecological support to the food system. So cheese is an important element, and because it makes us realize and speak about many different issues such as climate change, the importance to safeguard biodiversity, the importance of the agroecological approach, and the safeguard of traditional skills and producers that I think that you are going to taste some of them.
Oh my goodness, we've got so many amazing producers. We've got 6 of the best. My headmaster used to give me 6 of the best. In the UK, that means the cane, but not 6 of those best. 6 of the best cheddars we've got this evening, ladies and gentlemen. But it's so kind of you to give up your time this evening, because literally this festival it's the whole of Bra is covered in cheese. If you're into cheese, this is the bucket list moment. When because I've been involved in cheese for a few years, it was I feel very privileged to be here. It's a bucket list that I wanted to do, and I bumped into so many great people, so many passionate people that I've met at the World Cheese Awards, that I've met in other ceremonies and cheese festivals, who are all so passionate about something so important. Not only as a food, but to the world and the way it's being made. And Slow Food celebrates all of that. So thank you very much. And I met Carlo Petrini, which was amazing.
Really, wow.
Who is the maestro?
Very lucky.
You met maestro. Perfecto. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to get Lauren Collet on the video now as well. We're going to chat to her. Thank you so much, Elise.
Thank you very much.
Grazie mille. Okay, carry on. It's all good. Hi. Hi there, Lauren. How are you?
Wonderful, James. Glad to be here.
Fantastic. Good to see you. So we met. When did we meet? We met at the Afternoon of the Year competition, I think, online.
That's right. We met virtually.
And then all of a sudden I went to New York, hence the hat, and I met you at the Cheesemongers Invitation with Adam Moskowitz. And that was an interesting time, wasn't it? That was absolutely amazing time. So tell us about this evening. Tell us about what you've done for this show tonight. What have you brought us? You brought us an amazing video. I know that. Tell us about your video. Tell us about yourself.
All right, James. Well, I'm a cheese specialist based here in the States, which you can hear from my accent. Of course, I'm not British. And one of the things I love to do is to educate people about artisanal cheese. And I like to do it in a fun way. I found out about the Academy of Cheese and started watching webinars they were offering. They were absolutely free. I was following along with the Afternoon of the Year. I got to hear from Mary Quick herself, the maker of Quick's Cheddar. And these are wonderful resources for anybody around the world to learn about cheese. So maybe like a lot of viewers, I was raised on industrial supermarket cheddar. And this is probably true for a lot of Americans. They don't know that cheddar comes from England, and there's a beautiful history behind it. Luckily, I found out exactly where cheddar comes from, and I've had a chance to speak to all the cheesemakers tonight. What an amazing bunch. I left so inspired by every conversation that I had. And there were some themes that ran through the conversation: tradition, patience, compassion, respect, nature, handmade. So many beautiful things.
These guys are amazing, and these lovely ladies are amazing that make these amazing cheeses. We've got to take our hats off to them. So there we go. So we're going to stick your video on right now.
All right, let's hear from them.
Lovely video that Lauren put together here, which is incredible, which is just to capture a little bit about cheddar and what it stands for and what it means, not only as something to eat and go mad, this is great. It's also how it's made. So ladies and gentlemen, let's show you this little video before we start the tasting this evening and introduce you to our Compère.
It's raw milk cheddar. It's made from my own cow's milk. My own cows are managed in a grass-based system. My cheddar has that lovely golden color inside, in the body of the cheese, and that's coming from carotene from the grass. And when I got to know cheddar and got tasting it, the intensity of flavor and the breadth of flavor and how long it lasts and in your mouth, and the texture and all, and I kind of became addicted to it myself, and could eat raw milk cheddar every time. It's just a world apart from the industrial red cheddar that you get in the shop,
When you work with raw milk, every day's make is almost like a new vintage of wine. The skill of the cheesemaker is being able to react and to make subtle tweaks in our make to try and keep some consistency, but even trying to get a handle on all the variables will never do it. There are so many unknown unknowns. There comes a point where you just have to give up and go, it was really good. It just came out of really good cheese. We don't know why. We'd love to know why, because we'd do it every day if we could. But that's one of the beauties of raw milk cheese making.
We farm our cows as pretty much as traditionally as I can. During the summer, it's just mostly grass, and during the winter, we mix up a ration to try and give them something which is going to help them to produce lots of good milk for making cheese. Through a few experiments with technology in feeding cows, I've come to the conclusion that if my nutritionist comes up with an idea and my grandfather wouldn't recognize it as something he understood, I'm not interested.
One thing I would really love is for people to, when they think of cheddar, is to consider in their minds the range of cheddar that exists and not just imagine block cheddar. Because our cheese is so human created, so it takes the time and attention of so many people, it is difficult to make lots of it.
And in those big factories, of course, they're making as much in a day maybe as we will make in a year, and they have no people there.
Farm itself we've built from scratch, so we do so many jobs around the farm. But all the heat we use for the making the cheese is actually also produced by wood, so that's nothing new, because that's how it was always done many years ago. Most people would be using electricity or diesel. So we've got a water turbine that's producing the majority of the power for the farm. We also have a wind turbine on the hill, which is producing a little bit of power, but the water turbine produces most. It's raining at the moment, so all the electricity we have here at the moment is produced by the water turbine, and over the year we produce more than we actually use.
We are kind of members of our own herd. Human beings are part of nature. We're not separate from nature. We are not separate from the herd which we milk. We believe that the care and the love for the animals is a key component of the quality of our cheese. There's this phrase, you are what you eat. Well, in the case of cheese, it's kind of, you are what you ate, except that there's another link in it, which is the milk, and it's all connected.
So everybody, I'm going to take this man off for a second. So, sneaky peek of who our Compère is. So I just wanted to give it up for those amazing cheesemakers and that lovely story we've just had. It's ingrained. It's an amazing story, and we have some amazing cheesemakers in the United Kingdom and Ireland, and for which I'm very grateful for sure. The next person that's coming on, of course, which you know, is Marcus Brigstocke, and I met him a while back. at the cheese awards in Bergamo in Italy, and we shared some laughs, lots of laughs, and had an amazing meal together with some other great cheese people. And since then, we formed a lovely relationship. And I invited Marcus to join us this evening to be our host. So without further ado, let me introduce.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed for being here. And James, thank you for that lovely introduction. We have, as James said, begun a lovely relationship, although I do also want to say I am married. That is separate to the relationship I have with James. But what James and I have, my wife understands. It's something pretty special. Before we do anything else, thank you, James. This is an incredible thing. It's so exciting. Well done to you particularly, but to everybody who's made this happen. And it's so thrilling to me to be able to be part of this. And can I also say how cool it has been watching everybody who's taking part in this all over the place, chatting to each other. I want to say thank you to the guy who said Marcus is going to be furious that we've used up all the cheese jokes. Yes, I am, but I have got some new ones for you and they're dreadful. And just say, I've really been enjoying people mentioning how hard it is not to just eat the cheese and get stuck in, and people waiting and go, oh, it's like being a kid again and waiting for the moment. And then the second to bottom comment on my screen, at least, from Araminta Merlin simply says, I have tasted the cheeses. Well done, Araminta. Why hold off? Why hold off? So I won't say it doesn't really matter why I'm here. I'm a massive curd nerd. I adore cheese. I was trained at the Academy of Cheese and judge at the World Cheese Awards. And it's just, for me, as someone who's passionate about food and particularly about cheese, it's really thrilling to be a part of something like this. And I'm proud to say, Araminta, I've not yet eaten any of the cheeses. They're sitting just here to my left, but I'm salivating as I speak to you. And of course, it's probably fair to say that a fair few of you won't understand this reference, but can I just say as well, cheese enthusiast, but also my main job is comedian. Can I just say how thrilled I am to not be on Channel 4 this evening? Quite a niche reference. Let's not get bogged down in that. Now, I promised James, because we did an event together just recently at the FT Festival at Kenwood House, a cheese tasting event called How to Eat Cheese Properly, which was really fun to do. And I promised James that I would do my list of appalling cheese jokes before we do anything else, but I won't take long over them. What cheese do you use to coax a grizzly out of a tree? Come on, Bear. That's it, yes. If you know the answers, type them in to the chat by all means, or simply shout them angrily at the screen. Is it wrong to eat cheese in your bedroom, says Annie J. Well, I haven't cleared it with my wife, but James says it's fine, and that usually covers us. How do you approach a Welsh cheese? Carefully. What did the cheese say when it saw itself in the mirror? Hello, me. Yeah, good. Yeah, nice. Charlie's quick. I mean, Charlie knows all of these, of course. I have got some ones you probably won't know, Charlie, and the reason you won't know them is they're really, really terrible. What do you call a cheese that isn't yours? Watching the chat. Nothing. Nacho cheese. Good. Okay, fine. What cheese do you use to hide a horse? Mascarpone. Very good. Did you hear about the explosion in the French cheese factory? All they found was debris. Debris! Here's a couple I wrote recently that I think are genuinely the worst jokes I've ever written, so enjoy these. Why was the cheese board higher than usual? Because it had a stilt on. Yes. Oh, nice one, Charlie. Yeah, Charlie knew it. Good. Why did the Swiss man eat 4 kilos of cheese in a single morning? Imento. You can't say that anymore. He's suffering mental health issues. It's less funny that way. What happened to the South African bloke who ate all the cheese in Greece? He got feta. It only works if you do the accent. And finally, I think, yeah, how did the cheesemaker make his wife so shiny? He doubled Gloucester. That, I promise you, is the end of the appalling cheese jokes. So I'm going to be just sort of trying to glue things together and move things along, but I will defer in all things proper to those who know exactly what we should be doing this evening, how to really get the most out of these amazing cheeses. Oh, there was one more thing I was going to say, which is it's been really cool to see on the chat people referencing where they got their cheese tasting boxes from, supporting your local cheese providers. And yeah, good. So,
So
James,
Marcus, do you reckon we should go and taste number one in a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's
Okay.
get.
Shall we put the cheesy video up to let everybody know that we're going to taste number one?
Absolutely. Lift up your devices.
That's it. I'm okay. Let's put the cheesy video up.
That probably will have been enough, and I suspect some of you have already eaten the cheese right in front of you. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Charlie Turnbull. Good evening, sir. How lovely.
Good evening, everyone. Everyone, I'm coming right back at you. That video just gets greater and greater.
Yay! There he is. Now, Charlie, you've got, as everybody has this evening, 6 amazing cheddars sitting in front of you.
I do. My dog is getting first.
Everybody knows how to put a piece of cheese into their mouth, chew it, swallow it, and enjoy it. But what should people who are not really familiar with the judging process, how will they get the most out of this?
We've got the wonderful Academy of Cheese tasting program, which is really easy to follow. And actually, James has asked me to look through it. I just wanted to echo before I do that, say thank you to James, because this is an incredible put together. He's a one-man cheese shop, and I just want to point in his favor. It sort of echoes that video that we saw. I asked him which wholesalers he was using to get the cheeses out, and he goes, "I don't use wholesalers. I go straight to the cheesemakers." And that's just the same echo of attitude to getting close to your herd, getting close to your cheese. It's good. Cusco, can you sit for a second? Right. How to taste cheese. So the Academy of Cheese, get down. The Academy of Cheese has a tasting program which helps you get the most of it. I'm going to run it through it in a really quick way. Some of you will have downloaded these from the website to guide you through it. We're encouraging people to do it. It has one major role, is this just to slow you down, pay attention. Almost everything that you need to know about cheese is there for everyone to pick up. No special palate required. Everybody can do this. You will have slight variations to your neighbor, but they're not important. How you enjoy the cheese is the thing. And that's what the People's Choice today is about. It's about getting that kind of collective vibe about what's going on. Sort of crowdsourcing how it tastes kind of thing. So the way the Academy of Cheese leads you into this is it guides you through what we call the observations. And that is things like, what does the rind look like? What does the paste look like? And what does it smell like? And then we start to taste it. Now, in tasting cheese, you need to understand that you've got 2 organs in play. You've got 2 organs in play. You've got your mouth, which does all the stuff you learn at school: sweet, salty, acid, bitter. Which one of them is sweet, salty, savory, or umami? And then you have your nose, which does complexity or flavor. So all the interesting stuff that is like straw and orange juice and marjoram and all those funky sort of flavors, they're actually happening out here, which is why people talk about I've got blocked nose, I can't taste very much. We use both, but in cheese, those mouth flavors are really often the signature of the cheese. So when we're tasting cheese, that's where we start. Sweet, how sweet it is. Is it strongly sweet, lightly sweet? Savory, how savory it is. And each cheese has its own character in that. Now, once you've got past those, and those are the loud noises in your brain, those are the bits that are going to grab your attention and try to hold your attention. A lot of the factory cheeses will stop there. They'll come onto a bit of dairy, but they don't want massive complexity, because complexity splits the audience and start getting major preferences on one side or another. People really begin to diversify at that point. So the dairy is the next step, and you need to think of dairy as a journey from milk all the way through things like yogurt and cottage cheese, and then lactics and butters, and then you come onto the cheeses proper. So you might have your Gruyere styles into at the far end, so the big savory cheddars. And that journey from milk to savory cheddar stretches the dairy flavors. And when we come on to taste one, we'll look at that in detail. That dairy is very important. Your brain is looking for dairy. It knows it's eating cheese. It's its first recognition, right? Picks out the dairy flavors. It then will move on. And that's what I'll get to. And that's where we're going to look at some different flavors. So they are getting me to taste number one, which is great pleasure.
Let's get stuck into it, Charlie.
I thank you. Because am I being slow? You must nudge me.
No, not at all. No, that was absolutely perfect. Thank you.
I thought it was perfect too. So where was I? Number one. Okay, so I've already had a crack at this. I don't want to make a complete idiot of myself. So I've cut it up and had a look around the cheese. Now a cheese like this is going to be this big, which means even within the cheese, some of the cheddar makers in the video talked about cheeses varying from day to day. The cheese varies in the cheese. At the center, you will have the least mature part of it. So more milk flavors, more lighter flavors, more dairy flavors. And as you get towards the edge, more drier flavors, more bitterness, more savoriness. And you need to, when you're tasting your cheese, travel up through the center, travel up through the edge and get to the edge and find. So I've made some notes about number one. First thing I did was smell it, and it has a good mustiness, but a little bit of ammonia on the round, a little wetness, but it's not big. It's not a big cellar experience, Marcus. What do you think?
No, I feel exactly the same. Exactly the same. Yeah. I made a start while I was listening to you, Charlie, at the center of the cheese, and that's exactly the experience. I'm really glad that you're explaining that. For many people, they will know, but to taste the different parts of these cheeses as we go along, I find this stuff so fun to do. To go, wow, who'd have thought this one big thing? It all kind of looks the same, but it's completely different from the center to the outside.
It is, and the block cheddars that were available in the supermarket, there is no difference between the center and the outside. They're wrapped in plastic throughout their entire maturation period, which means they're just a block of cheese. Now, do you want it to change? I mean, it's a horses for courses vibe, but I like the fact that you can dip into your cheese and move around and find your sweet spot. The Goldilocks bit of cheese inside your cheese. So with this one, Marcus, I was thinking, it was a relatively low sweetness. On the counterbalance, it is a strong savory. That seems to be the spectrum here, with savories coming in really punchy, really dominant, with salt just behind it. I have this sort of rule with salt. It's like, if I added a bit of salt to it, what would happen? And this one would just then become all salt. So the salt, although it doesn't taste strong, it's really powerfully there. The acidity, I think, is the other major player here. It's sitting there at 6, 7, 8 out of 10. But interestingly, there's no bitterness at all.
No, and there isn't. And with that acidity, also no sting. There isn't. Sometimes you get that little sting on your palate when something's really acid. I get none of that. The other thing I'm loving with this, having had a little bit of the rind, is how bloomy and mushroomy it is, right up at the edge.
It is, but I'm not getting any increase of bitterness there. I would have expected it. And even there's even only a moderate amount of increasing savory. It's pretty consistent through the cheese. That sting you're talking about, what some of the old cheddar judges used to call bite, it's actually not acidity. It's what they call astringency. It's we're simplifying it because we've got to get through this sort of relatively punchily. But there's actually a third sense in play, which is your trigeminal, which does the easy stuff like hot and cold and wet and dry, but it does alcohol, metallic, astringency, histamine, a whole bunch of very tactile senses in the mouth. And that astringency is available. And I'm thinking when you're talking to other testers, they're going to find it in some of these other cheeses. It's a real, it really knocks on the door of your mouth going, I want in, and
Charlie,
sort of too much noise.
Up the really simple end, you've eaten thousands of different cheeses. Do you like this? How much do you like this? I mean, sure, you like it because it's cheese.
I
but
do
how
like
much
it.
do
I
you
do like it.
cheese?
I mean, I am, I eat Baby Bell. I will eat any cheese put in front of me. I mean, there is some I have double taken at, fair cop, but no, I'm a lover of cheeses in all forms. So, bring it on. As a complex cheese, I mean, I was looking through this and I reckon there was cheddar at the top, and this is just in the dairy. There was lactic, there was butter, there was a bit of rancid butter, there was some milk, maybe a little bit of raw milk. That's just in the dairy side. And then going across all the other flavors, I got a little bit of wood, a bit of brambles, some bit of wet straw, definitely silage, some fermented grass. And then there is a sort of hum that would suggest sort of a white pepper, possibly even an English mustard, but it's low level in there. And so there is good flavor in here. There's really good flavor. But on the other hand, I'm still very curious about what's in the rest of the selection. So it's not a slam dunk for the best choice here. It's no, I think we can do better.
Okay,
that's
good.
That's why it's a blind tasting, Charlie.
Exactly. And I hope everybody's clear on that if you've got tasting notes or you've got a list or anything in front of you that you don't know, very few people, I don't have a clue which of these cheddars I'm tasting. All I know is I've had some of number one and enjoyed it hugely. James, you've had some, I presume.
I've had all of them, and they're amazing. But what we're going to do in just a moment is bring the next person on stage, and I think it's really important that everybody understands out there that although we're going to be meeting the cheesemakers, it doesn't mean that you taste number one. That means that the next person is number one's cheddar. So you all need to understand that we're going to meet somebody else now. I'm going to put him on now, if that's okay with you. I'm going to take you off. Can we just say, Charlie, I love you. You're one of the greatest cheese people out there.
I agree.
Massively inspired me. You taught me my AOC course. You're a great guy, and just keep up the good work because it's brilliant. Thank you so much. And also thank you so much for being part of tonight. It means the world to me, as you know. So thank you very much indeed. I'm going to play you out now to a cheesy video again, everybody. Sorry about this, Marcus. Let's just do it. Give me one moment. And
okay.
Hello. So we have got Marcus. Marcus has got a mouthful of cheese. I can see that. Marcus, this is
it's a slice of apple. I'm being as professional as I promised you I would be. I'm cleansing my palate with a thin slice of sour apple.
That's good. That's good. Well done. I believe it's cheese still there.
Could be.
Tom, tell us about your cheese.
Yes, hello. I'm Tom Burgess, and I've been making my cheese, Coolatin Cheddar and Mount Leinster Cheddar, for the last 25 years. Really, they're adding up as I go along. I've got my own dairy herd in West County Wicklow, in the south of Ireland, and we're lucky enough to have a climate that allows us to grow grass for 10 months of the year, and our cows graze in the fields every day of their lactation. We have a spring calving herd, so they calve and they go to grass, and the fact that they're eating grass every day gives them their milk a special quality that I can preserve by making it into raw milk cheddar. That's my big point, really.
And Tom, your herd is they're Jersey Cross cows, is that right?
Yes, they're Jersey Cross.
Why Jersey Cross? Why have you chosen them?
Yeah, well, for a long time I did hold off on Holstein Friesian because the thinking was that the protein to fat ratio was more even with those cows. So I did hold off. But the Jersey Cross fits the grass system. The lovely grazing cows. They're great characters. They're light on their feet, and they're pretty, and they go out into the field and they keep grazing all day, even when it's raining. And they come in, and their milk is slightly heavier and thicker and more fat and protein in it. And as I said, I originally avoided their high fat content, but But really, I think I've come around to believing that the fat in my cheese is a, you know, gives it a special quality, and it's not such an unhealthy thing to have anymore. You know, nutritionists in the world are coming around to the fact that dairy fat is not such a bad thing at all, and that dietary cholesterol doesn't raise your blood cholesterol. So
yeah, absolutely.
I just like those Jersey cows. Yes, easy to.
Yeah, pretty and delicious. And I can see, because you're not at home, right? You're in Bra in Italy.
Yes, that's right. You can see the slow food snail behind me. I'm in this biggest raw milk cheese festival that happens
and
every
having an
2
amazing
years.
time, I hope.
It is, yes, it's brilliant fun. Great to meet other people who are on the same brigade as me, and we all love raw milk cheese, and you know, it is definitely to process your food.
Well, thank you very much, Tom, for a little introduction, a little hint about Mount Leinster. Presumably, you don't know which one it is on the board either.
No, I have the 6 of them here in front of me, and it's hard enough to tell the difference.
Nobody knows, Marcus. From sight, Tom, can you don't say which one, but from sight?
I have picked one out. All right, yeah. I'm kind of going for it. Yes, there are a few things. I'm not going to explain it because that wouldn't be fair. But,
no, absolutely.
I can see. I think I can pick out mine. All right. Yeah.
That's reassuring. Thank you. That's reassuring, Tom. Thank you so much. Listen, thanks for coming over to Slow Food this evening to the IT headquarters.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Great to have you with us, and I think we'll be touching a couple of fast ones after this. I reckon.
Absolutely, James. I think we should taste our second cheddar.
Why not? Let's do that.
So hopefully people have started tucking into the second cheese on the board while I introduce Drew Baker. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Marcus. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm still slightly smarting from having been ejected very suddenly from MasterChef, and it's made that much more painful by the fact that you quite rightly won it.
Well, I think the consensus, as we all agreed in the room beforehand, was that it was a disservice, certainly to you, and we all felt that you'd been robbed. So,
oh, bless your heart, you're very kind. I mean, the issue really is that in the one where I went out, I did serve raw pork, and that did make me the only person who serves food that can potentially kill both judges. So,
well,
you know,
I think you're magnanimous in. Maybe in time, but you know, there is pork that is served blue, and it's meant to be served that way. So you get some of that Iberico pork, and it's served blue in the pressa, the pluma, the secreto. So I'm with you on this one, Marcus, and I will stick to my guns that it was a travesty.
Thank you, my friend. Now, as people hopefully are tasting the second cheese on the board, tell me about you and cheese, Drew.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always loved food. I've always loved cheese specifically. Cheese to me, much like charcuterie and wine, fall into that alchemist territory where it was almost impossible to conceive of how something that complex, that amazing, that varied, and that nuanced could come from milk. In the same way that how could you get wine from grapes, and how would you get charcuterie from meat? You know, it's this time and fermentation and love, and it was one of those things that I've always been slightly fascinated by, and I think all cheese lovers are curious and they are drawn, and I think they are fascinated by it. And actually, it's only been in the last 10 years, I'd say, that I've had any real understanding about the kind of process. And prior to that, it was just pure, unadulterated love of cheese. And that never goes away. You might learn a few more bits and pieces about the production, about understanding the technique, but it's not like once you've learned a magic trick, the magic goes away. The magic with cheese never goes away, even when you know how the trick is done.
It really doesn't. And anybody who's tasting this second cheddar, you know, I mean, cheddar's a fairly wide definition, but anyone who's tasting this and seeing how totally different this is from number one, totally different. Flavor profile is a million miles away. There's loads of completely different, fascinating things going on. It is alchemy. It's a magic trick, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a lot. It's all down to the ability of the cheesemaker, it's down to the characteristics of the cattle from the milk itself, and then it's down to the affinage, it's down to the aging, the maturation process, and the interplay of those three things. You can get a myriad of results from, you know, the same milk if you start off with it. But what I was struck with this was that you have this wonderful uniformity throughout. It's an incredibly pale color. Right up to the rind, there's a hint of darkening, but generally it's incredibly uniform, very, very pale. And I also thought that on the nose, it gave very little away. It was very delicate, mellow. There's a sort of hint of cream. There's a slight vegetal note, but it is incredibly delicate. And so you're then tricked into thinking that the flavor will sort of follow suit. But actually what I found on the palate was immediately there's this rich seam of acidity and saltiness that run sort of parallel to each other. Sort of fruit notes start coming through right at the front. And then remarkably for me anyway, down the middle of my palate is almost like a Marmite. There's this intense umami, savory saltiness, but without tipping into being too salty at any point. So it's restrained. Well, it's brave, but to the point of there's restraint involved. But for me, what really struck me is this incredible interplay and this balance between acidity, salt, and umami. You've got this hint of fruit, some sweetness, and the more you eat, it becomes more savory. It becomes more umami. It becomes more marmitey. Other yeast extracts are available, I believe. But actually, it evolves in your palate just from bite to bite. And that's what I love about I would serve that cheese as a cheese course with crackers and a chutney and nothing else. You know, why are you going to have 6 or 7, 3 cheeses when you've got something that evolves and is as complex as that? While still being very gentle and mellow.
That was one of the really fun things when James and I did the last, you know, how to eat cheese properly, was getting people who really enjoy cheese to taste it and then wait and just see what happens and see how long those flavors keep developing on the palate. And I find that absolutely fascinating. I got with this quite a lot of bitterness up front. It was like it was almost like a matcha tea flavor to it for me. They're quite bitter, but as the fats in the cheese melt on the palate, as you said, you know, there's this kind of sweetness and the lovely lactic flavors, and it just keeps expanding.
It goes amazing. Right, and then what I did find was there's that like scratchiness, that astringency, that slight itchiness on your palate, but not in an unpleasant way. I mean, if it's too far and too aggressive in that sense, it can overpower, but I quite like that. I hate the word mouthfeel, but you've got to use it. It does have this incredibly nuanced texture which you get from it. And there is that bitterness that creeps in, but not in an unpleasant way. It just kind of rounds off.
Exactly. I love those flavors, especially when there's lots of other things going on. There's people guessing what's what, and also, again, back to the comments, it's really pleasing to see people dividing up. Someone's saying it, her husband's favorite thing on the board and her least favorite thing on the board. So,
but wouldn't it be beyond boring if everybody gravitated towards exactly the same one? I guarantee we'll have a split pack on this one, but if we all like the same thing, it would just be so remarkably dull, and that will spark a conversation. You know, this is why is this your favorite? Why isn't it? And I love the fact that a piece of cheese can create that. Exactly. You've got to be interested in cheese, otherwise you're just a nutter talking about cheese, and people look at me like I'm crackers. But
don't point at the man behind the curtain. This is nuts what we're doing here. You know,
it is. But you know what? What I found is that everyone in food production, the best of the best, they're all slightly out there, and I think you have to have that obsessed. Anyone who dedicates their life to making that has to be slightly off, you know, out there. But thank God for it. I mean, I'm a producer, so I put myself into that category as well. You have to have that singularity and that obsessiveness to produce something as good as this. That can't be made in a factory. And
do you know what, guys?
Nor will it.
Every single one of those cheeses, but you hit the nail on the head, Drew. They are so focused and in touch with what they're doing, which makes, and when we taste the cheese, we taste the character of the people that make those cheeses as well. And they're all they're all winners in my eyes. The People's Choice will be the People's Choice, but they're all winners in my eyes. Which
That's
brings
what
us
I've got
next.
left.
We have somebody else coming on in a moment, which is great.
We do indeed. Drew, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you
Pleasure,
for being
Marcus. See
here.
you soon.
Lovely to chat with you. Yes, indeed. Look forward to it.
Drew Baker, hopefully we'll see you in Trondheim.
100%. Pack your thermals.
It's going to be cold. Drew, thank you so much for your time this evening. If you can stay on, that would be great. I'm sure there's going to be a few comments. Lots of love to you. Speak to you soon. Cheers.
Take care.
Just a quick reminder before we play this next video that when you see our producers talking about the cheeses that they've made, it doesn't line up with the cheese you've just tasted or the one you're about to taste. We've scrambled the order of those as well. But I think, James, we're going to hear from Quicks, are we not now?
We are. Let's play this lovely cheesy video.
Hello, we're back on. Good. Also
hi,
in
Marcus.
Italy. Hi, Jen. How are you?
Great, thank you. How are you?
I'm in my happy place. Really in my happy place. And you're in Italy as well.
Yes, that's right.
Before we talk cheese, tell me a little bit about what's happened since you've been there.
So I've gone to some amazing talks about Sardinian cheese and about Piemontese cheese, and learned a lot about the culture and the farming that happens with that cheese.
Fantastic. Now, Quicks is probably a name that a lot of people will know. Tell us a little bit about what happens on the farm.
So we have our own cows, which we have kind of specially chosen throughout time to have the characteristic, the personality, as well as the bodies to really fit our climate and our farm, so that they're resilient and they love the weather and the food, so the grass that we have on our farm. They also have really great milk for the cheese. And we take the milk on site on the farm, and we make the cheese using sea salt and traditional kind of heritage processes and starter cultures.
Yeah. So through the year, as the grass changes and stuff, are you having to watch that all very closely and sort of study it, and how do you do it?
Wow, yeah. I mean, this is a great year for you to be asking us this question, because it's been wild. We had this really dry time last year, and then we've had this really wet time this year, and we're now is as good a time as any to really be making sure that we are doing our, looking at the biodiversity in our fields, having mixed what we call swards, which is lots of different plants in our fields that help us be resilient with all of these crazy weather patterns that we see, and also do things like add goodness back into the soil, also provide a varied diet for our cows.
Yeah, because sustainability is an absolute daily watchword for you, isn't it? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of farmers have to farm. If we want to farm for a long time, we have to farm sustainably. And so I think it's something we are classically very bad at talking about and letting people know that we're doing all of these incredible things. But the reality is we're doing them. So I love the opportunity to talk about some of the things that we're doing. Taking you back to the 1880s, we reforested a large part of our farm. Half of the land of our farm is woodland, and we've maintained that woodland to the present day, which obviously does an enormous amount for our pollinators, insects, other animals, small mammals, and helps with the biodiversity of our farm, as well as obviously helping us to sequester some of our carbon. And I think that, along with we're doing a huge program right now
with hedgerows, which create this kind of like motorway, highway network for wildlife across the whole farm, enabling them to freely move right across the farm again. And as farmers, we reap the benefits of their pollination services and other amazing things that they give us.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, I think, I assume, because I am, that everybody's ready to do some more tasting. So, James, fire up the music. Let's have some. Thank you, James.
Hi, everybody. This is me. Hang on a second. Sorry.
That's all right. Don't be sorry for anything. The fact that you're
okay. It's a technical thing going on here, Marcus. Can you just
yes,
watch yourself for a second? Another cheese joke.
Yes. No. Listen, I blew every single one of them at the beginning, but I did like someone put in the chat a cheese joke that I'd never seen before, which is why can't you make clothes out of cheese? Because the fromage phrase.
Fantastic. Listen, I've got this lovely lady now. Here she is.
Well done.
We've got
the
most amazing lady. Her name is Emma Young. I'm going to let you take over right away. Please excuse me, everybody. There's a slight glitch. We're going live from Bra.
It was the merest. It was the merest glitch. Welcome, Emma. How are you?
I am very well. Live from Italy. Very exciting out here.
And congratulations on and thank you for the Cheese Explorer. What a magnificent achievement. Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Hey, look.
How did you go about creating the book? And why did you write it?
A few reasons, but mainly so the book's premise is to talk about cheese flavor and how cheeses are linked around the world instead of by geographical location. So lots of books are about where cheese is from. This one is a bit of a guide for the general public to understand how a brie links to a camembert and etc. But with cheeses from around the world. So it's a nice guide to get you in between learning about cheese and going to a cheesemonger, essentially.
Wonderful. Good. Well, definitely recommend. What I've done, you see, is I've tucked in. Definitely recommend for anyone who's interested in cheese, which I think is all of you. Get this book. You know, it's a feast, and it is exploration. It's a journey. Right. We've tucked into cheese number 3. Tell me about it. Did you try a little bit just before we spoke, or is this your first?
I may have had a little sneaky peeky because
sure.
I wanted to have a little taste. But yes, so this cheddar looks like this, number 3. So it's quite a dark colouring to it. I don't know what you think, Marcus, but it's got a really rich, deep yellow colour. Lots of sort of crystalline texture within. Quite firm.
It's the most golden cheese on my board. Yeah.
And sort of aromas, I got some really lovely tropical notes, some very sort of textbook lovely earthy, grassy, buttery flavour aromas on the nose. And the rind has got a really lovely sort of animal quality to it. I don't know if you've got that on your rind as well, but it's quite farmy, which is a good thing that you find in artisan cheeses.
Can I just interject, Emma? With regards to the cheese that everybody's got out there, you've got the same vat. So everybody throughout the UK is tasting exactly the same vat of cheese, which is an amazing feat for the people getting that done. But we're all tasting the same cheese. It really
is. Like logistically, what you've pulled off here, James, is phenomenal. Really is phenomenal.
Well done.
Yeah, I get lots of really delicious buttery flavors from this. You know,
sorry, I'm eating it because it's so great. So really rich umami as well. So lovely buttery dairy notes, umami, loads of broth and savory deliciousness, and quite a long length as well on this one.
And actually, sort of slightly bready, lovely kind of yeasty.
It's really, it's sort of really rich in the mouth, isn't it? It's got a very So a big presence, which is lovely. So a nice sort of acidity, everything you want in a cheddar. So the sweet dairy, butter, acid, all of those things are all in check, and it's really elevated and it's great. Actually, really nice.
And again, wildly different from number 1 and number 2. A completely different flavor profile again. You know, and it's not neat how these things line up. It hasn't sort of fallen between the two. It's another step further forward. I think it's amazing.
I need to go and try those ones too now. This is great.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, you missed that. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Emma. That's amazing. You've got to, ladies and gentlemen, you have to get the book. Met Emma a few years ago now, and she is one of the biggest inspirations. And we all in the cheese lot have been waiting so long for your book to arrive, Emma, and we are genuinely happy and thrilled for you. And we wish you lots of love and lots of luck, because we can't wait for the next book. This one is brilliant, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Congrats, and thank you very much for tasting cheese number 3 with us.
Thank you, guys.
James, let's hear from, where are we going? I think we're going to the Isle of Mull, aren't we?
We are going to the Isle of Mull. We go a little short video this time, so we got a little break. It's going to be videos for the next 4 minutes, but let's go. Thank you very much. It's going to be videos. I promise you, it really is going to be videos. You see, if I just press this button, is a video. Here we go.
We make raw milk cheese. The milking parlour is about 20 yards away from the cheese vat. So the milk literally runs by gravity from the milking parlour into the cheese vat. The evening milk we have to warm back up, which we do very quickly using restored heat. So we are actually storing some of the heat from cooling the milk, and then we recover it again to warm it all back up again. Adding the rennet, the starter. So we don't use a huge amount of starter. We use about 50% of the normal amount, because obviously the natural microflora is already in the milk, and this will change on a daily basis. So the taste and texture of the cheese will change very slightly day to day, because it's so natural. The process is pretty much similar with cheese vat cheddaring. We store it down below the dairy in the cellar for about 12 months to 18 months, and then you get to eat it. Okay. So sustainability is an amazingly broad subject. The farming is natural. The way we farm will be naturally for the environment, so that kind of just takes its own course. At the same time, energy-wise, we're trying to reduce the amount. We're trying to increase the amount of renewables we use and reduce the amount of energy we use in general. We've been heating the cheese up for over 20 years now with the local timber. So we used to throw the logs into a log burner to heat the cheese up. So we have actually moved on to a wood chip burner. When we installed the wood chip burner, we actually installed it to produce enough heat to process all the whey as well as make all the cheese. So now the whey from making the cheese, which is quite a significant part of the cheese making, we're feeding yeast with it. We're fermenting the whey up, and then we're distilling it into alcohol. So we're now creating our own spirit from the same milk. The lactose is now turning into alcohol and protein. So the protein is now going on to feed, in the form of the yeast, is going on to feed the pigs. That is far more environmentally sound for putting onto the field. The distillation of the whey into alcohol uses much higher temperatures. So we're now using the higher temperatures to distill, and then the energy that is surplus to that process is now going to create the cheese. So we're able to store all that energy in a big tank that we've been storing energy in for many years. And then we use that to warm the milk up again in the morning. So a lot of the energy for making the cheese is actually reused, recycled. So the milk is going through making cheese and making alcohol, and then it's going on to produce pork. And then it goes back onto the fields, grows grass grows, sun shines, and we make more cheese. So it's all circular and it's all sustainable.
Hey, so we've got a slight change, everybody. We've got an amazing chap here. We're going to bring in all of a sudden, because we thought the audience would need this right now. Just to recap on all of these beautiful cheeses we tasted up until this point. So Patrick McGuigan, let's bring you in. Marcus, I think we should also ask Patrick about his book, because Patrick is working on a book. It's not actually out yet. Another incredible author. We've got the British Library involved somewhere in that line somewhere. I think we can talk about the British Library as well. There's a book around that area. You work with somebody there. But Patrick, let's talk about your book, and let's let's go through those first 3 cheeses, because we need to understand what they were like.
Absolutely. Hi, Patrick. Good to see you.
Hi, Marcus. How's it going?
Very good, man. I'm having a lovely time. I hope you are.
Oh, I've eaten my body weight in cheese in the past 2 hours, basically. Okay. So, yeah, I'm doing great.
Good. Tell me about the new book.
Yes. So it's coming out on October the 26th, and it's going to be called The Cheese Life. And it's written by myself and Matthew Carver. If you've ever been to the conveyor belt of cheese restaurant in Covent Garden called Pick and Cheese, Matthew's the owner of that restaurant and several others. And so it's a recipe book and a kind of digs beneath the rind of this weird cheese life that we're all living, cheesemongers, cheesemakers, cheese maturers. Yeah. So yeah, it's all coming out October the 26th.
How exciting. Fantastic. How many books on cheese have you written so far?
This is my second. So the first one was with the British Library, and that was called The Philosophy of Cheese, which was a short history of sort of the best cheeses in the world, basically.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, let's talk about, you've tasted these first 3, have you?
I have. Just so a little recap, I suppose, for people.
Yes, please.
You've sort of been hearing as we go along. So just get a quick recap. I mean, everybody's sense of taste is slightly different. So what I'm tasting might not be what people at home or the other experts have tasted. I thought cheese number 1 was quite, I thought it had a sort of quite soft texture, quite buttery, a bit grassy. And I got a little bit of a kind of bit of umami, but it wasn't like full beefy. It was more sort of chicken stocky. That was my kind of feel with it. For me, that was number 1. The color of that was very golden as well. So soft and golden, buttery. Number 2 was much paler. So it had a much paler color, slightly firmer texture. I got sort of more earthy notes from that cheese and a bit of sort of horseradish, tingly stuff, which is always quite exciting in a cheddar. And a bit of bite, like that sort of a bit of spice and bite. Had a very sort of clean rind, so actually if I'm looking at the rind, there wasn't a lot of sort of molds going on. They'd taken the cloth off, I think, and there wasn't a lot sort of left. If there had been a cloth on, I don't know. It looked like it had, though. I could sort of see the imprint, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, possibly, or maybe not. Anyway, that was cheese 2.
I think it's had a cloth on it.
And then I'm just looking at a piece of cheese, as I do for far too much of my life. And then cheese 3 was sort of dark. I'm being handed pieces of cheese. This is wonderful. So much darker, very golden, much firmer. So I think this is the cheese that Emma was tasting. Crystalline, all sorts of funky stuff going on.
And pleasingly, an ancient map on the outside. Yeah. And you can sort of study. You feel like you could maybe predict the future if you looked at it enough.
Yeah. Sort of cheese gazing. So with that one, I was getting, it had a lovely chew, like in the mouth, the texture, the snap and the chew, fermented butter, sort of brown butter, like a little touch of caramel sweetness stuff going on. And again, lovely color as well. So those are the 3 that we've tried so far. So it's just a little recap for you.
Absolutely.
And we'll do another recap after the next 3 cheeses.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Patrick. We'll see you very shortly. Are you sticking around to taste number 4 now, or?
I'll be honest, I'm going to have to dash. So
no problems, man.
I think we've got someone else coming in for number 4.
Good to
see
lovely
you. To see you, Marcus. And this is a brilliant event.
Isn't it?
Long live cheddar, proper cheddar.
Indeed.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, cheers, Patrick. Bye. Good to see you. Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Someone's telling me Let's taste number 4 with Abigail Pitcher. Hello, Abigail. How are you?
Hi, Marcus. I'm good, thank you.
So nice to see you. Now, tell us about Cheesewick for those who have not been lucky enough to visit the centre of cheese in
The
southwest
centre of
London.
cheese. Well, yeah. So Chiswick was originally known as Cheesewick, which meant that it was originally a cheese farm a long, long time ago. And I'm part of the volunteer team that set up the market a couple of years ago. We think we're the only UK specialist cheese market. As I said, we all volunteer. So basically, the money goes to charity, and we also invest back into Academy of Cheese. So this year, we set up a grant with the Academy of Cheese for young cheesemakers to get the training they need to make great cheese. So we're looking forward to trying some of those cheeses in the coming months. So yeah, so shameless publicity on my head.
No, but
The
no,
market.
look, the thing is, for cheese enthusiasts, curd nerds, the cheese lovers, the experience of visiting Chiswick Cheese Market is like, it's like the best days in France when I've had, and you wander into a town in Provence and get lucky and find that it's market day, and there's just incredible produce everywhere. And it's also walking through, it's a real journey. You know, you've got a stall devoted to 2 or 3 cheeses and nothing else, you know, then somewhere doing amazing cheese toasties, and then somewhere with every cheese you can imagine from all over the place. Number 2 Pound Street are there with amazing cheese knowledge and wonderful British cheeses particularly. So no, good on it. I mean, every time I've been, I've just been in heaven. Now, Abigail, are you ready to taste
I am. And
number
actually,
4?
Number 4. I've got myself a nice long slice of this one, because what I did find interesting about that. Now, this is something I learned from Patrick, actually, who taught me on my level 1 Academy of Cheese course, is that the rind is all important, and don't be afraid of the rind. Always try the rind unless it's obviously made of plastic. That's a really good thing. If you don't like it, you don't like it. And actually, what's interesting about this cheese, so I did a sniff all the way from the middle to the end, and in the rind, there is a very distinctive smell to me. But so if we taste from the middle, I think there's much more buttery, fresh cut grass in this centre bit. And as I've gone up, I get a bit more. I got a little touch of chive. But the thing that is really distinctive for me is when you get up to this rind, I suddenly get horseradish. I don't know whether you got that.
Yeah, I get that too, and lots of flowers. Lots and lots of sort of sweet, floral,
like a beautiful meadow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think for me, it is a delicious cheese. I think I think I probably could guess what this cheese was, only because I've had it many times. I won't allude to what it is, but it's made by somebody that I admire very much, I think. Gosh, but it's for me, it's a very well-rounded cheese, and I think that little touch of horseradish is really interesting.
Yeah.
What
Also,
do you think,
for me, the same, and the finish on it is really interesting. So quite often, particularly with blue cheeses, you get lots of salt to begin with. You sort of get salt, and then as the salt washes away fairly quickly, that's when you really get the flavors. With this, I didn't get that up front, but as it melted on my palate, as it developed on my palate, I get a really lovely, quite subtle, buttery, a really salted butter flavor, almost with a hint of kind of anchovy to it.
Salted butter is the only way
which
forward.
I adore. Yeah,
Yes,
no, of course.
I don't understand the point of unsalted butter.
Yeah, I know. Anytime it comes up in a recipe, I'm like, are you sure?
Sure.
I'm sure there's a reason why this shouldn't have salt in it, but when I put unsalted butter in, I'm just going to add some salt anyway.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, but there's a lovely finish on this one, and it's actually interesting. It's making my mouth water in a delightful way. A good, what are we in now? A minute or so after I swallowed it. I really, really like that.
And also, actually, by contrast to the one before was quite dry in texture.
Yeah.
This is wet, moisture, terrible word. There's it's a pleasing cheese to have after the other one by contrast.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, cheese number 3 kind of, it breaks apart into pieces. I suspect it's a higher fat content in there, and it kind of breaks apart into, as Patrick mentioned, those chewier pieces. This has got really quite a creamy texture as you chew it. And just to remind people of what you said just a couple of minutes ago, do eat the rinds on these cheeses. You may find you don't like them. You may, and it doesn't matter. You'll have briefly had something you don't love, but actually, so many people sort of cut them off and leave them on the plate. My wife does, and I lean straight over and eat.
My husband does the same. I'm in for the ride, because that's where all the love goes, and that's what Patrick taught me, is that most of the love for cheese is a lot on that rind. So always try it. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Abigail, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing cheddar number 4 and bringing your ideas. And as Patrick said, you know, everybody trying these things, a lot of the things we're mentioning, you won't be getting on your palate because your palate is different. So, interesting.
And
Someone's saying, interesting how the flavor is different on the rind than in the middle. Exactly that.
Exactly.
Thank you, Abigail.
Pleasure.
Abigail, it's brilliant to have you with us. We love Chiswick.
It really is.
It's on this Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody in the UK
tomorrow.
watching this right now? In America, we've got some people from the US of A watching us right now as well. You might not be able to make it there on Sunday. Maybe if you get a fast plane.
Coming on to October 15th. It's going to be a big one. It's a big cheese weekender.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is.
Yes,
so,
it is.
Thank you so much. We're now going to introduce you to somebody else all the way from, one moment.
Patrick, you've caught me having an extra little piece of cheese. I think you're still muted, my friend.
Hello, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the appalling reception and lighting. I'm in a hotel room just by Heathrow Airport because I'm flying out to New York Climate Week, if that isn't a contradiction in terms, tomorrow morning. So I'm not on my farm in West Wales, which is where I'd really like to be, of course.
Absolutely. Now, take us to your farm in West Wales, Patrick. What would we see when we arrived?
Well,
cows and grass, hopefully.
Yeah, we farm about 300 acres. We've got about 90 cows in our herd. They're mainly Ayrshires, although we have experimented with a few Normand and Shorthorn crosses.
Yeah.
And we just celebrated 50 years of farming on the hill. We're the longest established organic dairy farm in Wales. And we haven't used a single kilogram of nitrogen fertilizer or any pesticides for that time. And we think the biodiversity and the kind of magic, really, I can say it's magic, of the way in which we are farming in harmony with nature is reflected in our cheese. And I also think that cheeses are possibly the food which more than any other can reflect uniqueness of place, the terroir.
Absolutely.
Maybe wines as well, but cheese can really do that. And as has been said by previous cheesemakers, it is a kind of alchemy and a combination of this, that, and the other, science, art, and alchemy. But
definitely, I
think our milk is a carrier for the complex, diverse herbs that our cows eat. We sow herbal lays, all that sort of thing. And come and see us.
Yeah, well, I will. Next time I'm on tour, I'm passing through, definitely. I mean, Wales is producing some absolutely stunning cheese these days. I mean, it has for a long time, actually. But yeah, I mean, really incredible stuff coming out of all over Wales. And exactly as you're saying, the terroir, the different stories told by all the different places you go. I think it's just phenomenal.
Well, we're only small, obviously. We make about less than 30 tons of cheese a year. But it gets about. It's going to Australia and America and all over the place. And we're very proud and grateful to all our customers.
Absolutely. So when you go away on a trip like this, how long are you away for, and how quickly do you have to dash back and oversee what's happening at home?
Well, luckily my wife Becky does a lot of the milking, and she considers herself to be one of the herd, as we said in that clip. And I think the love and the trust that she's developed for the herd is actually reflected in the quality of the milk. I think when you make cheese from the milk of your cows, every day is different, and your emotional state actually affects the quality of the milk. So cows that trust the people that milk them and know that they're loved will give better milk than cows that are stressed.
Yeah,
that's an oh my God moment. That's an amazing fact you put out there, Patrick. I absolutely love that.
The thing is, when we came, I was a hippie that got back to the land with a commune in 1973. When we came, there were 3,000 dairy farmers supplying the local creamery, and now there's only a handful left, and they're all enormous herds. No fault of the farmers; they're just trying to survive. But you can't know all your cows if you have more than a couple of hundred cows. And also, it's not good for the landscape. I think small family farms are the future. And it's quite controversial to say that, because everybody thinks, oh, you've got to get more efficient and larger. I don't think so. I think that the best milk you'll ever taste will come from a small family farm working in harmony with nature. I put it out there.
Dare I say, Marcus and Patrick, excuse me, that it makes economic sense as well?
Well, I'd like to think it does, but to be absolutely honest, I don't think it does. I think that the reason why so many dairy herds have got so big is because the economic system doesn't if you're farming a lot of cows and farming intensively, you're not financially accountable for the damage caused to climate change, biodiversity loss, or public health. And because the polluter doesn't pay, etc., dairy farmers have been forced to intensify. That's totally against the public interest. The government doesn't get that. Most people don't even realize what's going on. But did you know that 50% of the milk that's produced in this country now comes from cows that never get outside? 50%. And that's shocking. And people don't know that.
And dreadful. And, when you look at the countryside, I mean, I drive every year thousands of miles on tour all over the country. When you look at the countryside, that cannot be justified.
No.
There's no way that can be justified. And I think, as you're alluding to as well, Patrick, without getting too bogged down in the politics of it, when you can't see what you've got, when you're running a farm and it's bigger than you can see, I don't mean in a single viewing, but bigger than you can see, you lose sight of the things that matter. And as you've beautifully put, sustainability is the first thing to go. It really is.
And I was in a House of Lords the day before yesterday to meeting with all the big heads of the dairy industry, the ones that run these big companies. I won't name them. And the person who was running the meeting, there's about 20 of us there, said, if you imagine that we weren't where we are today, what would the ideal dairy farm look like? And do you know what? There's a stony silence, because everybody knows that it's slightly embarrassing what's happened to dairy farming during my farming lifetime. We've got to change that. And by the way, with you being our champion and doing this kind of thing, we can.
Yeah. Three cheers to that, everybody out there. Massive
Absolutely.
Patrick,
safe travels to New York and back. I hope it all goes well, and thank you very much.
And by the way, one other thing, we're climate negative on our farm because we're lowering down CO2, putting it back in the soil. So dairy farmers can be part of the solution in terms of climate if you farm in harmony with nature. Just putting it out there.
Absolutely. It's essential stuff. Thank you so much, Patrick. Right, James, we must biff on to, I think, hopefully, cheese number 5.
Numero 5.
Now, sharing cheese number 5 with us, cheddar number 5, is Sarah DeWitt. Good evening, Sarah. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good evening from West Yorkshire, Hebden Bridge.
How is
Marcus, I've got to say, this is a bit like the Eurovision Song Contest. And our final vote is from...
Exactly. 10 points. Hebden Bridge. Lovely, lovely, lovely part of the world. Now we can start eating straight away, and I'm sure everybody at home and wherever you are has. But just tell me a little bit, Sarah, about the Virtual Cheese Awards before you and I tuck in.
Okay, so the Virtual Cheese Awards was founded just as lockdown commenced in 2020, in response to everything being cancelled. So obviously, Cheese Award emails were coming through. I'm an absolute lover of judging at Cheese Awards. Totally passionate about cheese, and that was something that just really hit me. Everything moved online, Pilates, everything, meetings, everything was online. So
Stand up.
so I kind of thought, why don't we do a Cheese Awards online, get the community together and support the cheesemakers? So that's what we did. So that was our first event, and we are planning our 5th event for May 2024.
Fantastic. So and could people just join that and get involved?
Absolutely. So so the next event will be on the 15th of May 2024. Everyone connects online, so I send out samples to judges via the lovely White Lake Cheese, who acts as a hub, and they are packaged off to our judges. They connect online, a bit like this, really, to be honest. And we the entrance to the awards can actually see open, honest feedback. So it's all videoed. They can see exactly what the judges say, and use that as kind of support and feedback on their cheese by kind of experts across the country.
Fantastic. I did we must get tasting in a second. I did a cheese and jazz pairing event online. There's really cool stuff about, where you are in the world. Like I always mention the same thing, but if you've drunk rosé wine in Provence and gone, this is just heaven in a glass, we must buy a case and take it home. And then you have it at home, and it isn't the same. Everything we taste is affected by where we are, who we're with, what else is going on.
Absolutely.
So I did a cheese and jazz pairing event, probably apart from my wife and my children. My 2 biggest passions in life are cheese and jazz. And it was just great and really interesting to see how what you're listening to affects how you taste things, and how your senses are
There
lit
is
up
kind of
to one thing or another.
so much research about the kind of color of the light that you're tasting cheese in, the room, the temperature, everything. It's
Well, we talked about this just recently
very
about
interesting topic.
that experience. If you visit a cheese stall, particularly on a market or a cheesemonger, you go in and you ask for a sample and you taste it, and then you go home, you buy some because it's delicious. You go home and you try it there and it doesn't seem the same. But of course, when you're in the cheese shop, you're surrounded by cheese and all of your attention is on that little piece that you're trying, because you're using that to make a decision about whether you will or you won't buy a piece of that cheese, or that one, maybe not that one,
Absolutely.
And then when you get home, you're dealing with, oh, well, there's supposed to be biscuits here and the children are doing something there, and oh God, someone spilled something, or and so you're distracted, or at least affected in a different way. Anyway, let's not get bogged down in that. Let's taste this amazing cheese.
This is
Have you
absolutely
tried
fantastic.
some already, Sarah?
Just a little bit, yes. So I have been nibbling away at the cheese. Obviously, had a very good thorough look over to begin with, and to me, it looks like it was a cloth-bound cheese. You can see the which way around does it go? Yes, there. You can see in your lighting is a bit better than mine, and a really, really strong aroma on the nose. I can really smell kind of pastures, wildflowers, especially as you go towards the rind. Kind of grassy, slightly musty, more of a musty cellar.
Yeah.
As you go to the rind side. It's a really strong aroma compared to the last one that I
Yeah, the last one
smell
was much more kind of delicate and light and floral than this.
Whereas this one is really quite punchy.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind on first taste is beef.
Yeah,
beef, lovely, sort of
absolutely.
delicious,
So
big Sunday roast kind of flavor.
It's a real umami, really high kind of savory, high umami. Salt in there, but absolutely no bitterness at all. I don't get any bitterness. I get medium acidity to kind of pull it all together, but it's a really balanced, but well, it's kind of punchy. It's really kind of strong, savory, but then as you let the flavor continue, you do get a creaminess and a butteriness that comes through as well. So it's an incredibly Moorish, I would say, Moorish umami, deliciously big tasting cheese.
I'm also finding, as it develops on the palate, lovely kind of vegetable flavors in there. You know, like if you char broccoli, like a split broccoli, and char the edge of it, it's got.
Well, I get kind of like a parsnippy.
Yeah,
I get more of a kind of parsnip
like
flavor. It's kind of sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in terms of sweetness, it's it kind of starts off sweet and a bit caramelized, a bit like roasted veg, to be honest, and then the umami and the savory notes. Yeah, really
like you say,
kick in. So it's just it's
dangerously
kind of
Moorish.
also a very Moorishly long-lasting cheese that you'd definitely get your bang for your buck on that one for sure.
Yeah,
It's really a great cheese. I've eaten more cheese than I can live for today over here. You can't see me because I'm eating so much cheese. My goodness, that's a great cheese. Every single one's great.
They really are. They really are. And when we decide on, you know, which of these 6 amazing artisan cheeses comes out as number 1, it'll be, of the people who are here taking part in this, the most popular of those. But for everybody's going to have a favorite tonight.
Shall we meet some other
Can I just say thank you very much, James, for organising this. I know how stressful these online events are to pull together, and the kind of
James is fine. He does this sort of thing standing on his head.
I've gone through a bottle of incredible wine, which I have to tell you all about in just a moment. But listen, Sarah DeWitt, Virtual Cheese Awards, bang on, brilliant stuff. Thank you, darling. You're amazing. Love to see the other day. Speciality, great work. And all we're doing is collaborating and celebrating the nuances and amazing stuff these great cheesemakers do, and cheesemongers and small shops. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah. Right, James, let's hear about Montgomery.
Yeah, let's get this man on. Aha.
Excuse me. I'm having another piece of cheese. Jamie Montgomery, good evening. Welcome, my friend. Thank you for being here. How is Italy treating you?
It's great. Great. It's always so wonderful to see so many people so enthusiastic. It's just crazy.
Good. And I mean, you're an hour ahead there as well. So, I mean, are you full yet and drunk?
There's a whole lot of stories there.
Sure. So tell me about your farm. Tell me about specifically, like, how do you manage the diversity of your farm?
Well, the farm is really a farm that just happens to make cheese. We're growing quite a lot of potatoes, quite a lot of arable. We have 2 herds of cows. It's a really complicated beast that it all has to fit together, and it doesn't necessarily fit a lot of the boxes that people want to put farming into these days. And so we do our very best to use the value from the cows into the crops that we grow. Potatoes just grow so well if you give them a really good base of farmyard manure, and that's the best place to do it. But that doesn't fit any of these regeneratives, all that sort of stuff. But we've been doing it so long, we know we're doing it right, and it's sort of hard sometimes. But
it's a challenging way of
we
farming.
can then make a really great what turns out to be a pretty good cheese. Alongside all of that other stuff going on means that we're preserving the pastures as best we can.
trying to look after everything so that it's exactly the same as my grandfather did, alongside trying to push forward with the cropping.
Absolutely. And so tell me about the cheese you're making. I mean, firstly, how much, if you've got a farm that's also growing crops, how much cheese do you manage to make in a year?
We're making about 120 tons of cheddar. So that's the output of about 200 freezing.
Yeah. And in terms of like, what are you looking for everything to fall into place exactly right? What are you looking for?
I'm looking for something which really suits my palate, really sums up the herd, sums up the way I feel about our farm. Probably a little bit drier than most, probably because I have this really strong feeling that the cheese must breathe, and that drives everything for me. It's creating a good atmosphere in the store where we mature it, but then letting them breathe. Those cheeses that are a little bit loose, a little bit drier, they breathe more, and we get more umami flavor from where they've been able to oxygenate a little bit. But I'm absolutely setting them out.
Yeah, good. Fantastic. Well, we must crack straight on, I'm afraid. Thank you so much, Jamie, for joining us from Italy. I hope the rest of your time there is a delight. But James, I think we must get to cheese number 6.
Yes, we must do indeed. And just before I do that, if we can just remind everybody in the audience out there, the virtual audience, that is, virtually brilliant audience, that is as well. Thank you very much for viewing. Please, can you not put numbers in your chat? That's numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And remove them from your chats right now, because later on this evening, we will be voting for the people's choice. So if you can please remove your numbers, that'd be great. That's it, basically. We are bringing somebody else on in a moment, but I thought just as a little filler for a little bit of fun, we should put this on.
Man has gone to great lengths to organise our cheese on the radio is going to really take
off.
No,
that's good. Excuse fingers, Jamie. That's number 2.
No,
it's all right.
About it.
I prefer a bit stronger.
For the resolution.
Hang on.
Why don't we just pick our favourite out of those 3?
No. Quite good. Hang on.
It's a bit crumbly.
Oh no, this is number 4. I like that so far.
What is it?
That's number 4. It doesn't say. This is number 5. This is number 6. Number 6 is my favourite.
What is it though?
Doesn't say. It's just numbers.
Oh, brilliant! So we got all this time just for that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that at home.
How lovely to see Amanda Holden bring the same level of care and expertise to her cheese tasting as she does to everything she does.
When she spoke to me the other day, Mr. Brigstocke, she said, "Stand Marcus, my love." That was it.
Did she?
She did. Okay, so without further ado,
get on.
Okay, well, maybe she wants to make up. Here we go.
We'll see. Number 6, the final cheese on the board, and we're joined for this tasting by Jonathan Piercy. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I mean, I'm not as crafty as you are, but I'm okay. I'm okay.
I honestly can say I never thought I'd say the words "I'll be upstaged by Amanda Holden eating cheese," but you know these things happen, don't they?
Never. It was brief. It was brief. How did you get into cheese? What happened?
Trained as a chef, and then always been massively in love with food, and then through working through a supermarket in the north of England, just absolutely fell in love with it, completely besotted with it, and then went through a number of different motions of making cheese, working in sales departments for cheesemakers, and then now I'm running a business supplying restaurants, which I absolutely love, because I think for most restaurateurs and chefs would tell you they don't get given enough information about where the cheese is from and the people behind the stories and who makes it. And that's the biggest focus of the business that I have now, is not only just selling amazing products, but also telling people about them and preaching about them, which is exactly what this whole event's about for what James has done and what we're all doing.
I'm, not having a go at anybody, but I'm often really surprised that in fantastic restaurants who take so much care over the food that they serve, that the food will often have a little bit of a story attached, that when you order cheese at the end, as often as not, you're told practically nothing about it. As often as not, it'll come straight from a cold box or a fridge, so that none of the flavors have had time to come up to room temperature and soften and develop. And it really genuinely blows me away. And sometimes these are really good restaurants. So
Huge.
it's great. It's great to have you doing what you're doing and actually bringing the story of these cheeses to the people that you're selling to.
And I mean, that's the biggest focus for us is, like you say, it's a lot of time chefs are so focused on making something out of what they get in, which I completely understand. We kind of want to take away the stress and the hassle of them having to deal with the cheese, and we go in, we train them, we do all those things to do exactly the opposite of what you've just said, making people, giving them the information and giving them the confidence to be able to tell the customer that sat there what that cheese is about, and have it at the same level as the rest of their menu would be.
Exactly. So without knowing what cheese number 6 on the board is, what can you tell us about this? Have you tried some already?
Oh, well, I've eaten half of this piece already, and that's given the fact that I've been eating most of the other cheese as well.
Good.
This cheese is definitely a little bit of me. From a cheddar point of view, I absolutely love this because we go back to talking about what a lot of them spoken about is the rind, and the graduation of the cheese. This cheese for me shows loads of different elements through the cheese, but what I love the most, I shouldn't talk on my mouthful, but I'm going to.
Fine. They've got used to it by now.
The amount of savoury is unbelievable. I go back to something, and I've already berated him for it using the term Marmite because I was going to use it first, but Drew used it. But that proper savoury Marmite in this is unbelievable. And a word you used before, sort of beefy, really super rich, almost roast dinner in its.
It's like veal stock. It's
exactly,
like really good veal stock. It's amazing.
Really, really intense, but not high on the salt. So although there's salt from an element of seasoning, if that makes sense, it's that really savoury stock, Marmite, yeasty sort of strength, which I absolutely love about it. And then I love the fact when you get to the rind, and also from the smell, you can see from the rind it's definitely been clothed. You can tell still got the imprint pattern on there. But when you get to the rind, you've got this lovely. It's a rarity that you get to a rind of a cheese. And it's a bit mellower, but actually on this cheese, I find you get a bit more of that grass, that pasture, and that little bit of sort of cellar element to it. So it's a little bit actually lighter than the rest of the cheese, which I love that sort of split against some of the other cheese we've tasted. I just think
I love how the rind of a cheese like this takes you into the room where it's been matured. It makes 100%. You feel like, oh, I'm in I'm sort of in a farm, built a stone farm building. I can kind of picture myself.
That's it.
Temperature controlled room somewhere underneath lots of stone, and that kind of smell that stone gets when it's a bit wet. I'm sure that's not everybody's.
Yeah, no, and I think Abigail said before that she'd been told about the rind is where so much work goes into, and like you've just said, really resembles the atmosphere the cheese is in. And for me, this is like a prime example because the middle of that cheese is so savoury and so brothy and so marmitey. And then the rind is like this amazing expression of that moisture, that grassiness, that cellar element. And I just think I love the fact that it's got so many different elements and a lot of length to it, which I absolutely love. I'm in trouble. James is on. I'm in trouble. James is on.
No. Do you know what, guys? That was a brilliant cheese. They've all been brilliant cheeses this evening, haven't they?
They all have.
All of them amazing, and all completely different, which I love.
Pleasingly, completely different. I'd be interested to know from the chat very quickly if, like me, a lot of people have gone, well, that was my favourite, and then had the next one and gone, well, now that's my favourite, and that's my favorite. And then gone back because they can't, because of the random order, they can't just have kept getting better. Gone back and tried things again. Amazing.
Exactly, it's nuts. So listen, Jonathan, please stay on the line because I'm going to keep you on the line whilst we do the competition later as well. So I want you to be with us for that because you can maybe have a catch up with Marcus, have a little chat as well about what you do and everything that's going on in Lancashire would be good. No pressure there. I'm just throwing you in there.
There's nothing going on in Lancashire, mate. Nothing ever goes on in Lancashire.
So Lancashire,
James, now that everybody's tried all 6, are we ready to
No, not yet. We've got to introduce somebody called Ben, who works for a lovely little farm, Trethowan Brothers. He is head cheesemaker. So we're going to give you him in just a second. I just want to tell you a very brief story very, very quickly. When I was in Bergamo 2019, I got there after recovering from cancer. Now, I had cancer of the throat, so I lost all my taste. Now, when I was invited to the World Cheese Awards, I thought to myself, okay, I'm in the shit here because I've lost my taste. And I got my taste back about 2 months before. Got to the World Cheese Awards. I was with Guy, who owns a company called Tracklements, a lovely lady called Kanako Mathis. And the 3 of us were at this table running around these cheeses. And I tasted this great cheese. Didn't know what it was for the life of me. But I said to Kanako, this is brilliant. And Kanako said, you're just being a bit biased because that's probably a cheddar. So I don't care. It's brilliant. We went back to it. And we loved this cheese. And that was it. So basically, it went to the super judges. The super judges then turned around and they judged 16 of the best super gold cheeses. And the man that we're about to introduce you to is from Trethowan's, as I said to you, and it was Pitchfork Cheddar. It was voted best cheese in England, 2019, number 4 in the world. Incredible cheese. They're all incredible cheeses in their own right. Absolutely every single one of those cheeses is brilliant. But I just thought I'd share that story with you because about taste, about nuances, and about recovery, this is why I put this on as well, this show. It's very important to talk about that, I think, as well. But I'm going to, without further ado, I'm going to stick this little movie on and we're going to bring in Mr. Ben Tyson. Oh, that's me still. I'm going.
That's you, mate.
I'm going. I'm gone.
Hello.
Ben.
Hello.
Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Very good. Slightly kind of blitzed. We're here in the Slow Food Festival. We've got a cheddar Presidia. So it's the Slow Food protect the traditional Somerset cheddars. So we're made with sort of here on a stand with other raw milk cheddar makers. There are only 3 of us in Somerset doing everything that's required by the Presidia. But it's been a whole day of giving out samples, chatting to people about cheese. So I'm ready to talk about more cheese again.
Good times. Yeah, let's talk cheese. So Somerset is the home, the original home of cheddar, the place cheddar. What is it about Somerset that makes cheese making so special there?
I think there's a couple of things, and historically, probably if you go back hundreds of years, there would have been no refrigeration. Now, as a farmer, in certain times of the year, you'll have surplus milk. So what do you do with it? You've got to turn that milk into a form that will keep. And so people started making cheese. But you then have the problem, what if you've got so much cheese you can't eat it all in one go? You need to store it. And pre-refrigeration, the only place you could find to store it would be natural caves.
Yeah.
And the Mendip Hills run along through Somerset. And at the point where the Somerset levels meet the Mendip Hills, you have the perfect coming together of climate. You have the perfect grass for the cows to graze on, but riddled, the hills themselves are riddled with caves, which lend themselves ideally for maturing cheese.
Absolutely. And why do you work with raw milk? Why is raw milk so important?
So for me as a cheesemaker, it's always been raw milk that is my passion.
Yeah.
When you take the milk to make cheese, we add salt, or we add starter initially, but only a tiny bit, just to nudge it in the right direction. We add rennet and we add salt.
and all the amazing complex flavors that you're tasting, that you've been describing, those flavors are coming from the milk. Now, if we were pasteurizing, yes, we'd still get some of the flavors, but it's the length of finish, that really, really deep layer of complexity that lingers at the back of the mouth, that last little taste that you remember. That's the thing that you get from raw milk. Yes, you can make very good cheese with pasteurized milk, and sometimes you have to pasteurize, you just aren't able to use raw milk, and you still make very good cheese. But when you put the best cheese you've made with raw milk up against the best cheese you've made with pasteurized milk, there's a little extra layer, that little extra dimension of complexity and length of finish that you just don't find with the pasteurized milk.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for that, and indeed for your cheese. Can I say as well, the Trethoan Caerphilly is a magnificent.
That's the cheese that got me into wanting to be a cheese maker. As a monger, it was my favourite cheese, and when the person who makes your favourite cheese says do it, it's amazing. So that
wonderful. Thank you so much, Ben.
You're still there, but for some reason you've gone dark. It must be. It must be dark.
It must have been time's up.
The lights on in my room, so I don't know what's going on in there, but maybe there's a disco about to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, so here we are. We're at the point now where we're going to do the judging. All you need to do in a moment is put some numbers into your screen. I'm going to be doing that whilst Marcus and Jonathan Piercy are going to be talking about life and lots of things in general in cheese. No pressure there, Jonathan. But what I need you to do in cyberspace out there, I need you to clear your chats if you've got numbers in there, if you can, void those off. But I'm going to ask the people now. I'm going to give you a little bit of a rendition. I'll give you a little bit of an idea of what cheese you're voting for so you can remember, but this is not correlated to the numbers. One moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by, stand by. These are the cheddar challenges coming right now.
I started dancing to that. I started dancing to that song and realised that everyone could see me dancing to that song. So I apologise to everybody for what they've just witnessed.
So everybody out there, this is it. The countdown. We need to move quickly because Bra HQ needs to go home. We're running slightly over by about 15 minutes, so we're going to get this done quite quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please press number 1 if that was your favourite cheese this evening? Press number 1 if that was your favourite cheese this evening. I'm going to press the draw in 10 seconds to see how many we've got votes as far as that's concerned. 10 seconds. 9, 7, 4.
Quite an unusual countdown, James.
I know. I'm waiting for the numbers going in. I'm going to give you another 10 seconds, guys. Come on. The numbers are moving up for number 1. That's good. Okay, the time is going to go off for number 1. Right now, you can talk amongst yourself, Marcus and Jonathan. Sure.
So, Marcus, I have a question for you. Actually, we'll turn the tables.
I'm ready.
You talked about your love for cheese. What was like the first thing that really got you into cheese? What got you the most excited about cheese?
Oh, thanks for asking, man. So I, as a kid, I hated cheese. Really hated it. I just disgusting. And then eventually kind of grated cheese I didn't mind if I had to, or melted on something. But
ladies and gentlemen, put your number 2 in, please, right now.
If it's number 2 for you, now is the moment. So then when I was about 17, 18 years old, I had some big, massive changes in my life that I really needed to make. And one of them was that I stopped eating sugar. I still eat lots of fruit, and I have some dried fruit.
Number 3.
And sugar crops up in things, relishes and chutneys and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit cautious with them, but fundamentally I stopped eating cakes, puddings, biscuits, ice cream, sorbets, no desserts at all.
That is impressive.
Sorry, Marcus. Can we put number 3 in, please, everybody? Have you done
number 3?
Number 3?
If number 3 is your favorite, now is your moment.
And we're about to do number 4.
It left me at the end of every meal with a cheese board or nothing, and gradually, bit by bit, I
that's
got into the
interesting.
flavour of cheese. But then, as I've got older, the thing really that I love about cheese is the story.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the flavour, I love the texture, I love sharing. It's a good thing to
Ladies
share.
and gentlemen, put your number 4s in, please, Marcus. Can you shout it out? Number 4.
If number 4 was your favourite cheddar tonight, put in your number 4 now. But there's something about the communal experience of putting a whole, if it's a soft cheese, a whole soft cheese, or a big wedge of something on the table, and the way that brings people together into conversation. And
it's very exciting.
I love all of that, and I love this. You know, as I've got to know it through the world of cheese judging and meat and cheesemakers and stuff, you can hear. We've heard it tonight. The passion that goes into it, and the story of the cows.
Okay,
farmer,
ladies and gentlemen, can we
land,
please stop voting for
the
number
grass.
4, and can we now go number 5?
Number 5.
Please.
If number 5 is your one, the milk, the starter, the you know, the whole thing. It's such a big to produce this thing that sits on your plate.
Yeah,
it's such a big story, and I love that. You know, everything I do is about stories, really. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me is, it was like, I got to meet you last year in Wales at the World Cheese Awards, and it was I'm always just over the moon talking to anybody about cheese, especially, but meeting someone who had such a passion for it, and the story for me is such a big part of it. So I think when we were talking originally, that time, that discussion was interesting for me, because I think, like you say, the taste is so important, and there's so many elements of anything really. But I feel like you've just said, the story behind cheese is
Jonathan, I'm
such
so
an
sorry
important...
to interject. Let's go for the voting for number 6.
It's not the voice of God. I feel like it's the voice of God coming in.
If number 6 was your favorite cheese, now is your moment.
And I think that's, I completely agree with you. I think the story behind cheese, and having that conversation with you, and the more I can talk to people about that, for me is exceptional. I love the fact that that's what, and I think the story that how you've discovered that is amazing. You know, like stopping something, and it's sort of not forced you, but pushed you into the realms of discovering something else is amazing.
And it's more interesting. It just is. You know, desserts are delicious. They're extraordinary. They're designed to hit all sorts of amazing things on your palate, but there's only a few of them that are really special, like cheese.
Final call for number 6.
Final call for number 6. If the final cheese on the board, number 6 was your favorite, now is your moment. Vote, 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 vote. So there's that, and then there was one more thing I was going to say about cheese.
What's your favorite style of cheese, Marcus? If someone's had to pin you down, I know we're talking about cheddar right now, but if someone said to you, what's your favorite style of cheese?
Do you know, hopefully not a dodge, but a pleasing answer to that is, if you asked me that tonight, which you just have, I'd say cheddar, because I've just had 6 of probably the best cheddars in the world. Ask me again tomorrow afternoon, and it will depend on the weather.
Yeah.
You know, it will depend on what else has happened that day. You know, I mean, I adore the complexity of a lot of blue cheeses. I mean, the UK just makes so many.
Unbelievable.
If you just look at the range of Stiltons and Stichelton available, just those, you know. But then on another day, literally a fresh goat's curd is the only thing
mind
I want,
blowing.
with a drizzle of honey, or some, if you can get them, some petals, some little flower petals on there that bring out those kind of flavors. So pleasingly, it changes all the time.
Which is an annoying, but also very enjoyable answer.
The judges have voted. The people have voted. The people have spoken.
I think we have an answer.
We have an answer. Before we have the answer, I just want to say a quick thank you to these people. It's only 2 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. Stick with us. There's more people watching now than there was at the beginning. Something's working very well. And I do have a snack.
It's because of me and Marcus. Honestly, I'm telling you.
It is.
Yeah.
Marcus, I have a snail. I'm going to try and steal this from Slow Food.
I want that snail.
It's going to take a while to get back to me.
I want it to make its own way back.
Exactly. So let's give it up for the panel and these administrators. Well done, Charlie Turnbull. We love you. There she is. Thank you, Lauren. We love you, darling. And before we go back to Mr. Brigstocke, we need to make a little advertisement. Well done, Peter's Yard, for sponsoring us. So for the biscuits, it went to number 2.
Thank you, Peter's Yard.
Thank
Always
you, Peter's Yard.
an
We love you,
excellent
Peter's Yard.
accompaniment.
Great story. Wendy and Ian in a house had a mate called Peter, and Peter said you should make biscuits. And look what happened. It all went mental, and they are brilliant. And we love the biscuits. And they got a new range out, everybody. That's my plug. I'm going to get rid of my solo part, and we're all back together again. Thank you very much, Peter's Yard. Now, we need to thank you, the sponsors as well. This is my sponsor. Before you get the answer, ladies and gentlemen, and then Marcus Brigstocke is going to announce who it is. Marcus, get your phone out. I'm going to text you who it is, and you've got to announce who the winner is. Fantastic. I'm going to text you. I'm going to WhatsApp you, fella. Jonathan, I love you.
I love you
your beard.
too.
Love your hat.
And just to be clear, absolutely an amazing thing for you to put together, James.
Yeah, well done, mate.
This has been something super special, and I feel very privileged to be a part of it. So I appreciate you involving me, because realistically speaking, I'm just somebody who likes going on about cheese. So I appreciate you thinking of me, and this has been fantastic.
The good news is James has found this so easy and so stress-free.
Yes,
he's going to do one a week through the year. He's doing next week. It's best soft goat.
Yeah,
nice.
And then it's
happening every week.
Yeah.
Thanks to the panelists. They're coming back. They've all agreed, haven't you, Drew?
Yeah, and to be fair, James did mention, like you've just said, Marcus, that this has actually been quite an easy thing for him to deal with. So I think, Marcus, you've hit the nail on the head there.
Thank you very much. Without further ado, I'd just like to thank the sponsors. Let's mention the sponsors. Well, there we go. I sent the message to you, but hold on a mo, though. We just want to make sure that people know. I gathered a lot of people outside today, and we took a little video of them to make this the people's choice with lots of people dancing. So before and without further ado, we are going to announce the people's choice. So again, just to all the panelists and everybody, we're going to cut the Q&As, everybody. So thanks for hanging on, but we decided we'd leave it because of the time has run on. We had some information from Slow Food that we need to move quickly, which we thought was meant to be slowly, but we are going to have to finish quite soon. Sorry. We're going to go with the people's choice after this little video right now. And Marcus, I'm going to put your central screen in just a second.
It's me. Well, I think I'm ready to announce, but I have just messaged James to ask to ask for one more detail. I know which cheese is the winner, but I don't know what number it was on the board, and I'm quite certain that people are going to want to know. Thank you very much. There it is. So the People's Choice at the Great British and Irish Cheddar Challenge tonight, chosen by you, and thank you very much, everybody, for taking part and for voting. The People's Choice winner is Quick's Cheddar, which was number 5 on your boards. That was the People's Choice winner. So congratulations to Quick's, and congratulations and thank you to all of these 6 phenomenal cheeses. But well done, Quick's. You're our winners.
Absolutely. I think everybody show your appreciation for Quicks. I tasted this cheese. I tasted this cheese a few weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, and I can sincerely say that this is one of the best makes of Quicks I've ever tasted. So much complexity, incredible cheese. So Mary, if you're watching, Jane, I know you're there. In fact, is Jane that she's there? Jane, we're going to put you center stage. How do you feel about winning the People's Choice this year?
Hi, it feels great. Woo, so happy. So happy to have won the People's Choice, which is very important to us. So really, really, really happy.
Well done. Well done. It's a beautiful piece of cheese making. And thank
Everybody,
you for being here with us.
Everybody out there in cyberspace, I'm going to be ending the live stream now. For those hosts and panelists, if you can just bear with me, because I'd like to personally say congratulations to all of you after I said goodbye to the audience. But everybody out there in England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, the Great British Isles, we love you. We love cheese. It's been awesome. Thank you so much. And may the cheese be with you. But before we finish, there's one more thing I have to say, which is this, and I'll be in trouble if I don't do it. On your ticker right now, we've done something else for you, which is very, very special. Just at the ticker there, the Christmas orders, limited boxes are available at number 2 Pound Street of a very, very secret selection. You like what I did there, Jonathan, don't you? We've done a very, very special selection of cheeses. Who knows? Maybe a Quick is in there at the same time. I think
James,
you'll all like to go on.
We have, as well as that, amazing Christmas orders, limited boxes available. This will be fantastic. This is essential because people do want to know this. Which were the cheeses? Because everybody had their favorite tonight. We know that cheese number 5 was Quick.
Thank you.
And that was the People's Choice, but people are going to want to go and find their favorites from the cheese board. So, James, which was cheese number 1?
Stand by for one moment, please, sir.
Just checking back because we had question.
This is why it's a live show.
Guys, we had to jumble them up, obviously, so that it would be a complete mystery to everybody taking part. But James does have a key somewhere. What was cheese number 1?
Hold on. Okay, no, put that back down. So, cheese number 1 this evening was, drum roll. Number 1 was, thank you, Havod.
Havod, wonderful, wonderful. From Wales, from West Wales. Okay, so cheese number 1 was Havod, and number 2
was the Isle of Mull.
The Isle of Mull cheddar from the northwest of Scotland, made by Brendan Reid. Isle of Mull was the number 2 cheddar, and the third one on the board
was my great friend all the way from County Wicklow in Ireland, Mount Leinster.
Tom Burgess, and I'm pleased to tell you, James, I guessed that was that one, and I got it right. So
because it was very yellow in Jersey.
It was very yellow in Jersey, yeah, and the way that it broke apart on the palate was pretty much how Tom described. So that was number 3. That was Tom Burgess's Mount Leinster from Ireland. What was number 4?
Numero 4, formaggi quattro stasera was, for the Italians, Montgomery.
Montgomery, made by Jamie Montgomery in North Cadbury, Somerset. Wonderful. And we know what number 5 was. Number 5 was our People's Choice winner, Quick's cheese, made by the legend, Mary Quick in Newton St. Cyres with Devon milk. And that means that the final cheese on the board was Pitchfork by Truffaut Brothers.
Pitchfork as
near
well.
Weston-super-Mare.
Beautiful cheese.
So there we are, guys. Hopefully everybody is able to identify now which their personal favorite was, and go and find it at your local cheese vendor.
Thank you very much. And also for the Big Cheese Weekender, we're going to be visiting the farm that made that beautiful cheese. So Jane, if you'll have me, I'll be coming down there to see your mum and meet the cows and do a little bit of a video with you for the Great British, the Big Cheese Weekender, which is an amazing phenomenon put on by the Academy of Cheese. I've got a big shout out for the Academy. Thank you for this evening. Thank you for the tasting sheets for everybody. So it's given an insight to all of you to see that. Thank you very much for the World Cheese Awards. Thank you for all of these award ceremonies. Thank you Marcus Brigstocke, because you are basically brilliant, and thanks for holding this together, because I would have gone mental otherwise. Thank you to Sam Bryce, not Ben, but Sam Bryce from Freshly Ground PR. Big shout out to him for helping me. Thanks to Lauren Collier, your cheese concierge, all the way from the US of A, flown all the way over here to help us out as well. Drew Baker, Abigail, Jonathan Piercy, Sarah DeWitt, all of you cheesemakers, everybody and anybody I haven't mentioned, thank you so much. And a massive shout out to Slow Food in Italy, to Carlos Petrini for the inspiration to really appreciate food where it comes from and to get back to artisan, support these small people and small businesses, because that's what it's all about. I love you all. Thank you very much. Panelists, cheesemakers, please stay. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, everyone.